This video is part of the program of the Livermore History Mobile. I know that this year you have been studying California history, and now it's time to study Livermore history. Today you will see some of the important sites that are so special to Livermore. Let's see how many you recognize. The picture will appear first with a short delay to see if you know what it is. Then the name will appear and I will explain a little more about each picture. You probably won't recognize this picture. This is Tilly Calhoun. She was a local librarian at Maryland Avenue School and a famous local artist. Together with Barry Schrader, they designed and outfitted the first Livermore History Mobile. We owe her our thanks for starting our first History Mobile and taking it to the schools for many years. Thank you, Tilly. This is where Tilly was born. She was born into the Home family, and this is her painting of their farm located on East Stanley Boulevard near Merdell. You can see some of the barns in the background. Livermore was a ranching and farming community in 1929. It must have been very different living in Livermore so many years ago. During her lifetime, Tilly collected a lot of real artifacts, which are now in our new History Mobile. Here is a symbol of Livermore that everyone can recognize. The totem pole was created for the 100-year anniversary of the founding of the city of Livermore in 1869. There are 10 rings from the bottom up. Each ring represents 10 years, so all 10 represent 100 years of Livermore history. We were lucky enough to have Ken Morgan make a miniature totem pole so that we could see all the figures clearly. The eagle is on the top, and he is holding Robert Livermore. They are standing on a house, which represents all the homes in Livermore. Under that is a figure holding grapes, which represent all the vineyards and wineries that Livermore is famous for. Underneath him is a beaver, which represents all the hard-working people of Livermore. Then we have the atomic symbol, which stands for Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Many of you might have family or friends who work there. Their main mission is to design nuclear weapons, but notice the beaver has 2 peace signs on his paws. That's to show that we hope for peace and that we will never have to use these weapons. The little face underneath stands for the children of Livermore and is also the signature of the carver, Adam Nordwall, who is a Native American. We are the only city around with our very own totem pole. The next is the original flagpole that was installed in the middle of the street in 1905. Later, too many cars were hitting it, so they moved it to the side of the street. In time, the wood began to rot and it had to be replaced by this new flagpole. When it was replaced after almost 100 years, the bottom half was given to the Livermore Heritage Guild. But a slice was cut out, and you will see it in the History Mobile when you go inside. The top half was still good, so it now holds a flag at the Carnegie Building on 3rd Street. And if you go inside to the museum, you can learn about how the original flagpole came to be. This is the original Bank of Italy building, which stands at the corner of Livermore Avenue and 1st Street. The name was changed to the Bank of America during World War II, when Italy was our enemy. Now this building houses our local newspaper, The Independent. This is Lizzie Fountain. Livermore Avenue was originally named Lizzie Street after William Mendenhall's daughter, Lizzie. When they changed the name to Livermore Avenue, Lizzie Fountain was named after Lizzie Mendenhall. The original Lizzie Fountain was updated and now provides a place to relax and for kids to play in the cooling fountains. Across the street is the Shinoni Building. Shinoni was an Italian immigrant who married Robert Livermore Jr.'s daughter, Catherine. He bought the land in 1913 and built the building which housed the original movie theater, an old theater mall on 2nd Street. Here's a photo of the very first movie theater in Livermore called the State Theater. It was actually the first movie theater in the valley. This was a very important building. It was City Hall and also the city firehouse and the city jail. On the side of the building, you will find this mural showing some old firefighters and some old fire equipment. It was painted by the same artist that painted the murals on the History Mobile, Vera Loudermilk. Here is the original train depot where it stood for more than 100 years. A group of citizens got together and formed the Livermore Heritage Guild to keep the city from tearing down the depot. When the first transcontinental railroad was created, Livermore was one of the stops along the way. Many travelers going to San Francisco would stop in Livermore to relax, get their clothes cleaned and pressed at the many Chinese laundries next to the depot, and have something to eat before continuing their journey. On May 25th, 2013, at 11 o'clock in the morning, we dedicated the new Livermore History Mobile in front of this historic site, the Livermore Depot. The mayor read a proclamation. We had some children singing a song, some children saying a poem, and we ended the day with a cake. Now the Livermore Depot has been moved behind the parking garage and has been renovated. It is now the ticket office for the ACE trains. This building is at the corner of L Street and Portola. The Doherty Garage was located on the Lincoln Highway and for many years was the only place to repair a vehicle between the Altamont Pass and the Dublin Grade. The Lincoln Highway was America's first transcontinental highway, conceived in 1913, specifically with the car in mind. Our small town was one of the original stops on both the Transcontinental Railroad and the Transcontinental Highway, so this town was pretty important. Inside the Doherty Garage, there are some beautifully restored fire trucks and a lot of other neat artifacts that you might want to see. It is open every third Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Across from the Doherty Garage is this building. It is the Rock House. The owner built it himself. A little further from downtown is St. Michael's Catholic Church. The two blue domes make it easy to see from almost anywhere downtown. The first St. Michael's burned down because the fire department didn't have a hose with enough pressure to reach up to the domes. It was after this fire that the fire department bought the new Seagrave fire engine. This is a photo of a one-room school. When Livermore was much smaller than it is now, all the kids in town were taught in one room. The teacher had to make sure every student from first grade to 8th grade got a good education. You might have noticed this mural on L Street. It shows an old-time vineyard and the people who worked on the land. This is the Carnegie Building, and it celebrated its 100th birthday in 2011. It was built in 1911 by funds from Andrew Carnegie and is one of the 141 Carnegie libraries in the state of California. Here is what it looks like today. Now it houses the Livermore Heritage Guild's museum as well as the Livermore Art Association. This is where you can see the story of the flagpole and find books about Livermore. Now we go a little further out of town to this building, Ravenswood. It was the summer home of the blind boss of San Francisco. He liked to bring his family to Livermore in the summertime since it stays so cold in San Francisco. You can tour the house and other buildings every second and fourth Sunday. Livermore now has many wineries, but these two are the originals. Both Kincannon and Wente wineries are more than 135 years old, and Wente is still owned and run by the Wente family. The Kincannon Winery sits right across the street. This beautiful Victorian home is on the Kincannon property. It was moved from downtown to Tesla Road, where it sat for years and began falling into disrepair. Then a movie company saw it and decided to make a horror movie there. Not many people knew they were making the movie because they filmed it at night, since this was a story about zombies. It was called Dead and Breakfast, and it debuted at our local Vine Theater. The house was vandalized a few times, so the Kincannons moved the house onto their property and restored it. This is the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. The laboratory was established in 1952 by E.O. Lawrence and Edward Teller to add to the efforts of the laboratory in Los Alamos, which was known as the Manhattan Project. Before the lab came to Livermore, this was mainly a ranching town. Now it is also home to the most PhDs in the country. This is the target chamber for the NIF project. The target chamber is being hoisted by a crane and prepared for installation in the National Ignition Facility target bay. The tiny target inside is less than a half an inch thick. While working on utility trenches at the site, one of the older known Livermore Valley residents was discovered. The woolly mammoth bones were unearthed right where the National Ignition Facility was to be built. Yes, mammoths walked the Livermore Hills many thousands of years ago. A team of experts worked together to excavate the bones, beginning in mid-December 1997. A 150-foot crane was used to lift the giant bones. This is what the mammoth would have looked like. Local school children nicknamed the mammoth Niffy, which was determined through carbon-14 dating processes to be approximately 16,000 years old. The people of Livermore know that our city is special in many ways. Livermore has a very famous event that takes place every year, the second weekend in June. It is the Livermore Rodeo, and it has been going on for more than 100 years. A few weeks before the rodeo, this famous cowboy statue is erected near the Livermore exit on Highway 580. The annual Livermore Rodeo Parade kicks off rodeo weekend as this original stagecoach rolls along the parade route. Here's one of the cowboys riding a bucking bronco. It's always a very exciting event and billed as the world's fastest rodeo. There is something else special in Livermore. We have the longest burning light bulb in the world. It has been burning in a fire station in Livermore since 1901. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records, and people all over the world have come to visit it. We even had a birthday party for the light bulb in 2011 when it was 110 years old. You can see it in the fire station on East Avenue. Our city is in a valley surrounded by hills. This is a view of Mount Diablo, where you can go to the top and see a view of all the surrounding cities, or pay a visit to Rock City. And here's some of our Livermore hills after the winter rains have turned them a beautiful green color. Here's a view of our valley in springtime, when the vineyards come back to life again. Now the next time you walk, bike, or drive around Livermore, you may see some of these landmarks, and now you know a little bit more about them. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.